Friday evening, everybody. It's Friday, November 12th, 2021. Welcome into another edition of Talking Fitchburg. We talked about snow coming in this weekend, and we are just bummed or excited. I don't know which side of the fence you're on, but we're going to preview some of the snow removal stuff coming up on the show today. So we don't have a lot of time for headlines. In fact, that's the only headline today is we're going to talk about that snow removal coming up this weekend with this quick interview with Mark Hodel here coming up in a little bit. We'll also be checking in with Hy-Vee. It's National Diabetic Awareness Month. We'll be talking with Andrea Miller from Hy-Vee, our registered dietitian. Plus, we check in with Fitchburg Star. Kimberly's here, recap the budget and a few other items happening from the previous council. So a lot to get to. But first, we do start with Mark Hodel giving us an update today of the snow removal in general, but as they get ready for this early storm of the season. All right, Mark Hodel, snow is coming this weekend, and we want to make sure we're ready to share some quick information about how Public Works handles this. But as you get ready for any winter season, what are some of the things that you do ahead of time besides getting the trucks ready to go?
Well, this summer, you've probably seen people out. They were putting tar and pea gravel around manholes so the plows don't catch them. Drivers get familiar with their routes and any changes. We've looked at some of the new neighborhoods that we'll be maintaining this year and seen, what needs to be done in those. But otherwise, it's pretty much, now we're just finishing up today, getting trucks ready in case something would come about this weekend.
And as we look at the trucks and equipment that you have, our arsenal is getting bigger and bigger because of how much more space we have to clean up this year, or clean up as years go on. But what do we have for equipment for snow removal?
As far as the streets go, we'll have 12 patrol trucks this year plowing the roadways. We have a grader when things get really deep and a loader, obviously, for, there's occasions where we do need them.
We don't want those occasions now. We'll save that for after January.
Yep.
How about salt use and pre-treatment of roads? When do you start looking at those aspects, and on how does that work?
Yep. Pre-treating, obviously, like right now with this rain and stuff, you don't want to do any pre-treating. It's, wash it right off the road. We kind of play it by ear when we pre-treat it to make sure the situations are everything's right to do it. Salting, we'll salt when it's needed,
Right.
We try not to oversalt.
Absolutely. Super important, certainly. Is there certain routes that get salt versus not that don't get salt and get a sand, or are we an all salt organization?
We are all salt. Only time we use sand is when temperatures are too cold for salt to work and we just need it for temporary traction. But otherwise it's salt, and we just try to use a minimal amount to get things in, satisfactory condition without having to use too much. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer for the roads to clear off, but try to use minimal.
All right, in the last few seconds here, driver safety is important, and I learned this from a ride along. Trucks back up frequently, so you stay away from the trucks when you see them.
Yep, please. They do a lot of corners. A truck will need to back up and go the other way, and so give them some room, because a lot of times they can't see you when you pull up right behind them.
Thanks, Mark.
You betcha. Take care.
All right, there we go. Appreciate Mark Hodel's time, and be safe when you see the plow trucks out there this weekend. All right, take a quick break. Coming up next, we're talking about diabetes. Yes, Diabetes Awareness Month. We're going to break that down with a registered dietitian, Andrea Miller, next right here on Talking Fitchburg.
It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and stay home unless absolutely necessary. Use a delivery service for essential items like food and medicine. If you must make essential trips, stay 6 feet apart from other people. Wear a cloth face covering and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Well, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from Hy-Vee right here in Dane County, because she's at all of them. But we like her when she comes to Fitchburg. It's Andrea Miller. Andrea, welcome back to the show. How are you doing this November?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here. And this November, as every November is National Diabetes Month. And what a great time to talk about diabetes as a whole. And it can be scary. There's so many different things to talk about. And I've already picked your brain enough before we started this, so we'll jump right into this. In general, I think we want to share just a little general information and then some more Q&A. But in general, how does blood sugar work, and what's happening with somebody that has diabetes?
Right. So it's a very good question to start, because there's a lot of unknown, and sometimes we can generate fear in the unknown. So education can be very powerful for people to start. And a couple things to think about with blood sugar is we all have blood sugar, okay? The whole intent throughout the day is for our blood sugar to go up and down, okay? So we do want a rise, and we do expect a fall in blood sugar for everybody, regardless of diabetes status, okay? The other thing to take into consideration is that our blood sugar and the way that it protects us, keep that in mind, that it's affected by other things, not just by the food we eat. So for instance, when we're under stress, our body responds by pulling sugar out of storage and shooting it into our bloodstream, so we have energy, okay? Our bodies are designed to physically get out of danger, regardless if we're under emotional stress or mental strain, not physical danger. That's how our bodies are designed. So if you kind of have that mental picture, when we're under stress, the body shoots blood sugar into the bloodstream so you can flee that stressful situation.
Nope, go ahead. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's something that I don't think that I've heard over the years, that stress does play a big role in that. So sort of surprising in some factors. And I feel like this November, compared to we've been dealing with the pandemic and stuff, so I feel like everybody's probably a little bit on the stress side. So very interesting that that's tied to it.
And we probably all know someone, if it's not ourselves, a close family member, a friend, a coworker, we all know somebody who's affected by diabetes, or may have, pre-diabetes looming, from some of their doctor visits, that kind of thing. So it's good to educate yourself and become aware of what you can do to help prevent or help delay the onset of diabetes, and kind of take that control back, so it's not such a scary thing, and it doesn't seem so not manageable. There's a lot we can do.
Absolutely. And that kind of takes us to our next question here, is what should someone do when they do find out either they're pre-diabetic, which I've said for years, everybody's pre-diabetic, until you clinically you're said that. But anyway, and then diabetes as a whole. So where do you go from there? Because that, like you said, it's pretty intense news.
Right. So on one hand, I would take it seriously. I would take it as a serious situation. However, not panic. So what we do know is panic and worry and stress do not help our blood sugar and do not help with diabetes as a whole. So taking it seriously without panicking is my first recommendation. And then the next thing is to look at overall lifestyle factors. What's pretty typical is we like to kind of hone in on carbohydrates and stop eating carbohydrates, stop eating sugar, cut everything out. And it's kind of this extreme reaction. And my recommendation is actually to look at your lifestyle as a whole. Okay. How often are you eating? Are you nourishing your body during the day? Do you drink water? Do you move your body? Are you sleeping well? Try to get kind of an overall picture, and then think about like what's in excess or really lacking, and then start there. So if somebody drinks, lots and lots of soda, that may be a good place to start. If somebody's only eating once a day and nothing the rest of the day, that might be a good place to start. Okay. So I kind of think of looking at where is excess coming in. Most of us kind of know if something we're kind of doing too much of or not at all. So kind of looking at the extremes and starting there first and kind of start to normalize some of those lifestyle habits, kind of normalize some of that behavior, and then take it one thing at a time.
Yeah, if you've watched these segments with us, there's one piece of advice I think you and I am on the very, very, very slow track of changing my lifestyle, but that's okay. And I think that's so important, and especially tying it here is everybody's body's different and everybody moves at a different pace, and trying to make those changes just right away, and you're gonna, it's tough. And I think a big question for a lot of people, and this was one that I was curious about too, the different types of sugar, and should you, whether you do focus on the carbs, or how is it working to you? What's the difference in the sugars that you are taking in?
Yeah, so there's lots of different sugars, more than we even realize. There's sugar in fruit and milk sugar and grain sugar and cane sugar and beet sugar, all from different sources. So the general information to take from that is the differences in sugar has more to do with digestion than it does necessarily to do with blood sugar. So with that being said, you can kind of lump all sugar and all carbohydrates into the same pot when you're talking about how does it affect blood sugar, okay, in general. Now, there's going to be some sugars that will tend to spike the blood sugar, and sometimes that's desirable. Somebody with a low blood sugar might need some orange juice to, get in there really quick to kind of get them back on track. And then there's some other carbohydrates that have a lot of fiber in them, for instance, that slow everything down. So it's a nice steady increase and a nice steady decrease. So how our blood sugar is affected does have something to do with the type of sugar or carbohydrate, but in general, we focus on carbohydrates as a whole. And we tried to eat at one time some foods with carbohydrate, some without. That's where you get that balance. So when you have that kind of regular intake and balanced intake, that's when you have the best chance for a slow, steady increase of blood sugar and a slow, steady decline.
What happens for family? So if you are diagnosed or pre-diabetic, whatever the case may be, and you're looking at this like, well, I've got a family, and how am I going to eat? I don't want to pull all the carb. What's good for me or bad for whatever the case may be. How do you pull? What's your recommendation when it's a family member that's just been diagnosed and trying to find the right food for everyone?
That's an excellent question, because it's usually not affecting somebody by themselves, right? It's usually a broader effect. And so the good news is, and I tell people this all the time, that we should all eat as if we have diabetes.
Why didn't you tell me that to begin with? Man.
We all have blood sugar, right? We all want it to rise at a normal pace and drop at a normal pace. And keep in mind, what's going on is somebody who has diabetes, their blood sugar isn't coming down on its own far enough, or it isn't coming up on its own well enough. Okay. And so that's where the misstep is with somebody who has diabetes. So if you think about that, everybody's blood sugar goes up and down. So we want to make that as a normal process as possible, so we don't stress our body out, regardless of our age or gender or family history of diabetes. So with that, think about, eating whole foods, eating foods from the food groups, having that balance of carbohydrate and non-carbohydrate foods. And that all has to do with energy level too. So anybody who doesn't have diabetes, they're going to benefit from the fact that they have a nice steady energy level, because they're not putting in a bunch of sugar and nothing else, or no carbohydrate and just, meat and cheese. And so whenever we have that balance, we benefit from our blood sugar, our blood sugar benefits, but we also benefit in other ways. So the whole family can participate. I think on another note, one of the big misconceptions too is to think I have to start eating everything sugar-free. I have to buy all these special foods and special products. And that's not necessarily the case either. When we start looking at whole foods that don't have carbohydrate in them, and you eat them with the foods that do, you naturally create that balance without having to purchase special foods. to make it happen.
Yeah, I was blown away by the carbs that just because again, bad thinking on my part, but just thinking of sugary drinks, sugary foods, unhealthy foods, and how that all tied together, and puts can put you into this spot. It's an interesting thing, and I can see rushing out and purchasing some books. May or may not have done that, but in a sense that, yeah, you feel like, oh my gosh, I got to change everything, and I got to watch for sugar-free this, and it's a lot of education. And I think talking to experts like yourself is a great starting point to really put it in perspective. And as you said at the start of this interview, is just, you just got to kind of just slow down. It's a scary finding out, but there's so many paths forward because we've learned so much throughout the as time goes on.
Right. A lot of research on a lot of going to looking at our lifestyle factors and how that kind of plays a role, because we think of it as specifically related to carbohydrate, but it's not just about food. There's other aspects of it too that can continue to help with where we're at.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. I know we could spend a lot more time talking on this topic and all the topics. Certainly go back and check out Andrea and the information that she shared here on the show. And Andrea, if people do have questions and want to learn more, where can they find you?
Yes, so can reach right out on our website at Hy-Vee.com and go to the dietitian page and can search me by city or state. Otherwise, we've provided my direct email and phone line as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And you stay safe out there, and we'll look forward to checking back in with you next month.
Sounds great.
All right. Andrea Miller said right here in Fitchburg in Dane County. She's the dietitian and our dietitian. I say this all the time, TF's dietitian for sure. So we appreciate that. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us.
Ready!
That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu. And especially this year, no one has time to get sick. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today for the Fitchburg Star, our star, Kimberly. I have that worked in every time now that I introduce you, by the way, so it's never going away. I'm telling you that right now.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, yes, it's your star reporter.
Hi.
I sound so defeated.
Right out of the gate. If I can make you blush just a little bit, that's what I'm going for here, just to get you going right away. All right, Kimberly, we just had the budget this past week, got unanimous approval. What are some of the things, takeaways that you saw from this year's budget talks?
Yeah. So yes, at the very end, we had a unanimous approval. We had definitely a calmer council than we had earlier in the night. If you were watching earlier in the night, long before they actually approved the budget, it got very, very tense at points. And there was definitely, between all of the alders, there was some lecturing going on. There was frustration, some crying. So the fact that we got a unanimous budget out of it at the end is definitely a different tone than what the meeting was previously. But so really the meeting was really set up to be a battle of interests between the two District 2 alders. So if you looked at the amendments, it was very clear that Alder Julia Aratafrada was very focused on getting resources, in particular staff, for the police department. Funny enough, one of the amendments that actually passed after going into reconsideration has been proposed as an amendment even as long as 2 years ago. So that was definitely her rationale, was that the fire department has kind of gotten its staff resources kicked down for many years, and so she wanted to bring those back. And then on the other side, Alder Gabrielle Gerhardt, a lot of her amendments were focused on sustainability, particularly in environment. So one of her big ones was she wanted to have the city create an environmental sustainability plan. So basically, as the city looks forward, how does it build sustainability into everything it does to prepare for the effects of climate change, to hopefully reduce the effects of climate change in this area. Obviously, the city of Fitchburg can't solve climate change, but the idea was to at least have the city be more prepared. And there are a couple of amendments that went towards trying to fund some of those things. So that's how it was kind of set up on Tuesday night. We got to a kind of a consensus towards the end of the meeting where Julia got a little bit of what she wanted, and Gabriella got a little bit of what she wanted. A lot of the amendments were voted for and broken on a mayoral tie breaker vote. Obviously, Aaron likes his budget and wants to keep it the same. So there was one or two tiebreaker votes for an amendment that Aaron did vote for. So, but yeah, you basically had throughout the night very much a split council. But we will get some things like reclassifying 3 firefighters into lieutenants, which was actually approved back in 2017. So you only had to wait 5 years to get what you were told you could have. We got the sustainability plan for the city. I think those were the 2 really big wins on each for each District 2 alder. So, but otherwise we're about 2,000-ish away from the levy limit, and Misty knows the actual number. So I'm very sorry, Misty. I just gave an estimate. But so there's a little bit of wiggle room left in this budget, and a little bit more than previous years. So, but otherwise the budget is ready, good to go, and there will be city services in 2022. So did they give you a big raise, Jeremy?
No, yeah, I think that sums it up. I think it goes up 3.15%, if I remember right, for the average taxpayer. And Misty did
about $80.
$80, correct?
Yep, $80 on an average home. So
I think it's $1,000 per. I think, well, I could look up the number here if you give me a second. I'll come back to that. Either way, that information, as Kimberly mentioned, Misty will go back, work with the state, and finalize the numbers, and those will come out here shortly. And then the tax bills come out in mid-December, because I know you're all waiting for that to come up. So just the
Merry Christmas.
that's it's always, CIP, budget, taxes. That's the way it rolls. So that'll be coming out soon. All right. Also had comp plan talk as well. Tell us what you learned.
Yeah, so a little bit of background. So St. Ambrose, it was previously housed at St. Thomas Aquinas in Madison, and has been going around looking for a new school site. They tried in Verona, and not to mince words here, they miserably failed at getting a place in Verona. And so they then came to the city of Fitchburg, and there was a parcel of land where they were like, okay, well, then it was already reserved for school institutions sort of development. And so they said, well, we don't need all of this. We just need a piece of this. And so a lot of that extra acreage around is going to be turned into Viridian housing development. So they proposed this on Tuesday night to the council, where they've got a mix of multifamily housing and then a mix of different price points of housing, so that you're not just building a development that has all $500,000 houses and there's not a lot of room for other people. So you've got some houses that are a little bit more affordable, first home for people who are looking to spend around $350,000. And then you have those higher cost homes that are kind of reaching into the 750,000 range. So it's a big development. And so it'll be built at least based on what they have as their timeline, it'll be built over the next 6 or so years if all of the approvals go through. So yeah, Fitchburg could get another new school. And then some more housing stock in the like south central area of Fitchburg. So if you're looking to move to Fitchburg and want to build a house, great time to look. So
Yeah, a lot coming up here. We'll keep looking for those details as it comes up. We also got a couple of other things happening too. You got Quick Trips still on its way, and Edgewood College sports, they call this healthy sports facility. But however it is written down, that's also in the works.
Yeah, so this is really just a looking ahead, knowing what other kind of development is coming. So Quick Trip sounds like it's still moving ahead with its plans. So that was not on the agenda for this last meeting, but it will be going to Plan Commission. So if you're interested with how the Quick Trip is going to turn out and how it's going to look, et cetera, it'll be at Plan Commission later this month, and it'll come back to council. And so if you're interested in that, you can kind of figure out what's going on with that. For the people who don't know, it's going to be along South Saint Road. So, and then we've also heard a lot about the Edgewood development. It sounds like they are looking to get that added into the urban service area. This was a little bit of a complication a few years ago when they were trying to finalize a redo of, oh my goodness, now I'm blanking on it, but it's that nice big plan that determines where all of the zoning is going to be. It's a comprehensive plan. There we go. When they wanted to put that in the comprehensive plan for future development, one of the large snags was that it was not in the urban service area. And so now they're looking at bringing that into the urban service area south of Lacey Road. So that'll be a pretty big step forward. If they are able to get past Lacey Road south and get that in the urban service area, that'll be a pretty big step forward for them. So, so yeah, lots of development coming. We can make this a 30-minute show if we talked about development, but honestly, I think there are some people in the city who are more qualified to talk about that anyways. But yeah, if there's a few development projects that interest you, there's definitely some coming down the pipeline. So.
All right, Kimberly, we appreciate your time as always. If people want to learn more about these stories and others, where can they find you at?
Yeah, they can go to fitchburgstar.com. I'll just give the same reminder I've been giving for a few months now. We have new websites. So if you have a bookmark on your Chrome that, takes you to the Fitchburg Star, you're going to need to redo that because it is a different website now. So make sure if you're going to the Fitchburg Star for the first time in a few months, retype in fitchburgstar.com and it'll get you right there. So we've got newsletters and we update it as much as we can. So
perfect. All right. Well, I will not see you before Thanksgiving again. So have a good Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful that you're able to join us.
Oh, thank you. I'm thankful that you put up with me every 2 weeks. So
well, may look like it, but it is what it is.
When the camera stopped rolling.
Yeah,
it's a different story.
It's over. All right. Thank you so much, Kimberly. We'll talk soon. All right, we'll take a quick break. More to come. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Wrapping up the show, I want to thank Mark, Andrea, and Kimberly for being on the show. Have a safe weekend, everybody.